situated because I don't think she's never been locked into anything yet.
What I have to do is regular login.
Getting to school and finding bodies.
I don't think we didn't see that.
Didn't have to share that. Did you tell her that? We'll give him a second to get logged in to see what
He's good, he's already logged in.
Oh, right,
Yeah.
yeah, all right.
Okay.
Well, she can live with you.
Yeah.
Good job, Sherry.
Thank you.
All right, you ready? It is now 6:30 p.m., so we will call this meeting to order, and at this time, we will stand and do a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. And now the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item number 1, which is followed by item number 2, review of the agenda and adoption of the agenda.
I'd like to make a request.
To add to the agenda?
Well, my request is, with the recent news stories that have been published and aired over the last week, I would like to ask Ms. Richardson to consider recusing herself from this board meeting and any future board meetings until the Attorney General Office concludes their investigation of the allegations against her.
Under the advisement of my personal attorney, I am a board member until I'm removed, so I will stay and vote.
Yeah, I'm not asking you to remove yourself as board attorney, just recuse you at the meetings, but I wanted to ask that. I want to make sure my request and comments get in the minutes, please.
Any more additions to the agenda? Anybody like to add anything? If not, is there a motion to adopt the agenda as written?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Mr. Tolly. I'll second that. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item number 3, approval of minutes for the August 16th, 2021 regular board meeting, August 23rd, 2021 special board meeting, September 7th, 2021 public tax hearing, and the September 7th, 2021 special meeting.
I was absent for 2.
Which one?
Both. September 7th.
Yeah, the September 7th one. Okay, so if it's okay with the majority of the board, we will take those and do them separately since Ms. Considine was not here. So if anybody would like to make a motion for the August 16th, the August 23rd, yeah, those two.
I'll make a motion for the
Motion by Ms. Considine,
I'll second that.
second by Ms. Hendricks. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. All right. Now a motion for the September 7th tax hearing and the September 7th special meeting.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Ms. Richardson. I'll second that. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
4.
4-0 with Ms. Constantine not voting. Thank you. Yes. So that's why we have Arlene, so she can fix everything I mess up. Okay. Student and staff recognition. Okay, this top one is a no-go.
Yeah, we'll do that one on Monday.
Okay.
But we do have two others. And I'll read them as you get up here and then I'll give them to you. Is that okay?
Yes.
Our first recognition on behalf of Clark County Board of Education for your excellent shows award is presented to Miss Michelle Sands. For your dedication in stepping in to drive a school bus, doubling routes to ensure that students get to school, and in all your additions to your regular job duties. Thank you so much. In all honesty, our entire transportation department should probably be here tonight to receive special recognition. This also is on behalf of the Clark County Board of Education. Your Excellent Shows Award is presented to Miss Jill Stout for your dedication and concern for the safety of students stepping into service not only as a bus monitor, but also in addition to your regular job duties. She also keeps us straight every morning on the schedules, and I greatly appreciate you as well.
We still do it.
We still smile.
And we have a surprise recognition that's difficult because the woman getting recognized right at the moment has control of that template, so she'll have to get her official document later, and that's Miss Arlene Nance. Come on, you're gonna at least come up and get your picture taken. Miss Nance is being recognized for her commitment and dedication to serving and supporting the Board of Education and the superintendent in her effort to make CCPS an excellent school system, and we really appreciate you, Miss Nance.
Thank you.
As board chair, this woman has been my lifesaver for the past 2 years, and I do not know what I would do without her, so yes, well deserved.
Thank you. Thank you.
She makes it difficult to pull off a surprise, so.
She does, very much so. Public comments.
Well, we have the staff, we're gonna do that backwards and then move that around?
Huh?
The Bastion coach,
Last
He-
thing you
he's
got
not
moved.
here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
okay.
Chrissy, do we have district attendance winners? Okay, sorry, we do have the district attendance winners, I forgot to do that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she was taking our photos today.
So I need to get back to put what you need me to do?
I don't know, because I've not seen this before.
Christie, do you need me?
I'm sorry?
Do you need anybody back up here? I've not done this before.
Both of you possibly, for the banners.
Okay.
That's
Oh,
okay.
that's great, we are doing banners.
Okay.
As we all know, attendance is very important for all ages. We would like to congratulate 3 schools this evening for the highest attendance from the first day of school, Wednesday, August the 18th, until Friday, September 17th. As we are all aware, this unprecedented time for students, we are not just looking at academics, but mental health as well. In-person learning is not only for academics, but for mental health and socialization for all our young people. Please help me in honoring 3 wonderful staff members tonight that have been here. Thank you so much. The first is our preschool through elementary age, Sheer Elementary with 93.27.
Congratulations, Ms. Kimber.
You get to take this home tonight.
Yes.
Seriously.
Hey.
And Nikki, she'll take the picture with home.
Yes. He makes me put my car. All the time.
Good job.
Right now, you'd be proud.
I can help you take it down
Yeah.
if you'd like in just a
I'm gonna
minute.
set it out in the hallway and then
Yeah,
it
we'll do
folds
that.
up.
Our 5th grade through 12th grade winner is Baker Intermediate with 92.26.
I want that ball, man.
Your eyes always on it.
Okay, and here, take your band.
All right, we will display it proudly.
And then we have the ball.
Our overall district school winner for this first month is Stroke Station Elementary. With 93.41.
It's not as heavy as it looks.
So our schools will be able to keep this for a month, and then we will
Congratulations.
see what happens. Thank you all.
I know, be nice, guys.
No fighting.
Healthy competition over there.
Okay, public comments. Lorraine Molina, did I say that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Hello. I don't do this very often, so I apologize for the nerves. But I would like you to unmask my children, or at least allow the parents to make the decision. You talk about mental health. I know that my children are suffering under the mask. One of my children who'd never had sleeping issues before now tells me every night that they're scared to close their eyes. And we can't determine what exactly. The only thing I can think of is that the mask is impacting her mental health. I know that whatever virus we're dealing with, the masks don't do anything. I've heard doctors talk about it, where they're not designed to block out aerosol, which is most like sneezing and coughing. The mist is aerosol. The masks don't block out the aerosol. They don't block out viral particles. On paper masks, it says right on the box that it does not defend against viruses or COVID. So why are we putting this on our children? It does keep bacteria right up against your face for 8 hours. Why are we endangering our children? You advocate for them, and then I see that they're still being told to wear masks. I understand the CDC is recommending this. They're a private organization. We can listen to what they recommend, but has anybody ever given you any statistics or data to show that the masks do anything other than harm? My father nearly died of bacterial pneumonia from the masks. My daughter brought a virus home. We were all suffering from it. I know it was a virus. It was a cold, no big deal. But if the mask is supposed to protect against a virus, how did she bring it home? Their desire to not wear a mask or to wear a mask, doesn't that matter? What are we teaching them? That we tell them, do what I say, even if they're not happy or they're not breathing properly. I know they're not. I know it's not helping. If the masks did anything, why are we still in lockdown in some parts of the country? And if masks work, explain Florida, who hasn't enforced masking on anybody since 6 months into this. I know the masks don't work, and I can look into the data that I've come across, videos of doctors explaining why these methods don't work. They've never worked for previous upper respiratory illnesses. They won't work for COVID. The data that I've come across, the videos that I've come across, the testimony from people who work in these circumstances, the stuff I've come across, I can send you emails. I can send the information, I can send the videos. I mean, we talk about mental health, and we just said the pledge, speaking of liberty, and then you don't give my kids the option to wear it or not wear it. So, and I'll be back next meeting too to plead my case again and try and send you all the information that I've come across explaining that masks don't work for adults, and there's almost no definitive information about how masks work on children. And they don't have the symptoms from coronavirus, or COVID-19. If they get it, they don't show symptoms for the most part. So how can they transmit it to somebody else? you transmit viruses or bacteria through coughing or sneezing through aerosol. If they're not doing that, then how are they transferring anything? So please unmask my kids. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Dr. McComas, you are now on the spotlight. Superintendent's report.
Okay, thank you. So, kind of segueing out of that, the masking in schools and our revised COVID plan, we did release that, have been in conversation on a regular basis along with not only Ms. Bush, but our district health coordinator with the health department. And we added 3 extra measures to our COVID plan, which is some guidance around mask breaks to hopefully speak to the concerns that that parent had, as long as they're in open spaces and more structured settings. The test to stay plan that we're working on so that students that get placed in quarantine would be able to consecutively test negative and be able to return to school. That's a state program that's being offered. And then also our school health teams, due to the overwhelming volume that our health department does work with, we have cross-trained with our school nurses. And so we've got that program in place now too, that's going really well. I'm excited about expanding opportunities for dual credit, more so around industry certifications. So not just associates in arts and associates in science, but also industry certifications, and we're working closely with BCTC. So later, when we talk about the dual credits data, there's also the additional sheet here, so we'll talk about that in a little bit. But that gives you more information than what goes beyond the BCTC program. Specifically, they are looking at being able to offer students and associates in science or associates in arts before they graduate. So I'm super excited about this. We're working out some things around those. It's mainly around computer technologies, so various degrees around computer technologies. They're open to opportunities to also increase summer classes, still under the reduced rate for students, as well as evening classes and Saturday courses. So we're working on some partnerships to expand BCTC with, it's called specifically middle college, but we also are looking at other opportunities. The preschool new construction, we've had meetings with our architects around the topographical surveys, programming outcomes and timelines, so you'll be getting some more information about that tonight. The information that they're going to be looking at is around a 350 student capacity with common areas planned for 450. The alternate plan is going to be going ahead and looking at a 450 student capacity build, and then also looking at the clinic addition. So that wasn't initially on there, but if it's going to be talked about, we asked them to go ahead and prepare that information for you. The Phoenix Academy, we actually had our first meeting the other night for the programming with the Phoenix Academy with the architects and a steering committee to discuss their needs. So we are just in the starting stages for that. So we're going to have additional steering committees for those things. Athletics, we've been meeting with the core teams between GRC and RDC for athletics that goes along some of those programs, like students getting them free. So that's Baker's kiddo. Any kid in Clark County schools can go to all regular season games at RDC and GRC. And that goes back to we want to create engagement. We would rather them be in school, at after school events, and so that's an opportunity to do that.
Can I ask a question on that?
Yes, sir.
The Baker football team, so does that include that team? Because I know that's kind of mixed. but-
They can come to just RDC and GRC games.
Okay.
Yeah, so that
It's
was,
just
yeah,
a
sorry.
parent was asking me that. Okay.
And that might be something that we can extend conversation to, but this was between the 2 principals and the 2 ADs that were wanting to pursue that. And then we talked about, obviously, things that come up, like the time clock at the field house. It kept time, but it had a delay. So actually, Mr. Cason and his crew got that worked out. It was something about a Wi-Fi antenna, but it gave us opportunities to look at those things. The RDC football field, we have some maintenance issues that we need to work on over there. We talked about inventories, safety coverage with our SLOs, I keep wanting to say RSOs, and then also like trainer and emergency responder coverage for ball games to make sure that we're properly covered. And then I'm excited about the work that our district is going to be doing around the Cardinal Lead Team PLC. And that's going to pretty much have all of the work that goes around instructional and academic assessment protocols. It's going to go through this professional learning community of our building leaders. They're going to be coming in, and the core purpose of that work that it occurs in schools. So we're going to have a leadership PLC, professional learning community, and then each school has content or grade level professional learning communities where teachers come together and they get data from their students, and it allows them to adjust instruction, and it's around the DeFore model. So there's questions like, how do you know a student is learning? How do you know a student hasn't learned something? What do you do if you know they've already learned it? And then, so you're going through these questions to help a teacher adjust instruction. So we are starting that process where our building and district leaders will come together to be trained on those protocols to make sure that we're facilitating those PLCs in our schools effectively. And then we have a walkthrough tool. So everyone in the district, principals and central office teams will be trained on that walkthrough tool. We'll be able to give feedback to teachers. And then the nice part is we'll also be able to go observe their PLCs and be able to bring information back that we can talk in our big group so that we can, again, adjust instruction as appropriate. And that will be like in real time. So before, and you would probably know this, Ms. Constantine, you would go and do observations on a monthly basis. So if I'm the principal at GRC, my school's just going to get observed, in February. And it's kind of like one and done. Well, we've changed that model to where every school has monthly observations. So you're not just getting it in February. Somebody's going in every month to do that, and it just keeps that conversation very active of what's going on in your schools. I've been excited about passion meetings with each of my board members, and so I have one left to go with Ms. Considine, who is out. And I'm getting to learn and individually and connect with you all on like why you wanted to be a board member and what your focus for CCPS is. And so that's very exciting for me, and it gives me good talking points when I'm out with the community where I can connect better with people. Similarly, our base team, formerly known as Cabinet, but our base team at Central Office is doing a similar process with me for the inner circle meetings around Maxwell's Laws of Leadership. So we're getting to talk about the law of the lid and how we're investigating different things that we can increase our collective competencies. We're excited about the health clinic. So Ms. Bush has worked very closely with Bluegrass Health Clinic, and we have that open house this week. So please make sure you have that on your calendar if you can get out from 12 to 1. All of our building principals and central office staff, we're still in that process of through September 30th to make sure that our professional growth plans and self-assessments are finished. So we're working on those things. So school and extracurricular events have been really important to me. I didn't list them all here, so that looks like a small amount, but going to band competitions and football games and RDC games and getting into schools and being able to connect with teachers and principals has been very important. We have some amazing lunches, Asian chicken's my favorite. I'm getting to eat in the cafeterias 2 to 3 times a week, and so that's been nice being able to see folks. Staff and community stakeholder connections. I've been regularly talking with our KEA rep, so keeping him in the loop and also getting feedback and input from him as he represents teachers around COVID plans, so that's been very appreciative. I got to meet the city commissioner and city manager. We're talking about things that are opportunities within the community and what the future plans for CCPS is, specifically around employment. And so that connects with conversations that I hope to be having with the chamber businesses as well. Extension agents, we've been partnering with them to see about getting the STEM bus off and running, along with some other opportunities that we're going to have through different teachers that will be trained. We're going to find a bus driver who is also willing to be trained to not only drive the bus from different locations, but is also going to be able to help facilitate some of the instruction around the STEM activities that we'll be using on the STEM bus. So
Is the bus here?
the bus is here, and we're working on getting some inventories together so that we can get it furnished, and we'll have a nice showcase for you all to see that. So what was that?
I said, okay, I'm just glad we found the bus.
Yeah, bus is here. Now we're working on plans on how we're gonna use the bus and where we're gonna target instruction for that. Got to meet with Sheriff Perdue. Actually, we had Sheriff Perdue and Chief Palmer here this morning, but reviewed, as you know, the tax collection rate, his fees compared to the trends of the last 20 years. We're also gonna be looking at some collaborative training opportunities with our Sheriff's Department as well as Winchester PD, so that's been nice. One of my favorite meetings was with Colonel Jerry Cecil. I don't know if anyone is familiar with Colonel Jerry Cecil, but he's a very highly decorated Korean War veteran that lives here in Clark County. Shared his passion about Winchester and Clark County as it relates to veterans, especially also the services of our junior ROTC and how he is supporting those missions and how we can better partner with different organizations within the community. So that was a highlight of the month, and I get to speak with him more regularly. I'm going to be excited about that. I went to the Daniel Boone Festival, met a lot. It wasn't just like going. There was a lot of things that I got to learn at the Daniel Boone Festival. Anything from athletics, school to work opportunities. So a lot of the vendors, local artisans and vendors are very interested in school to work opportunities. And then of course, all things COVID. I got to talk with a bunch of people about that. A monthly radio show on Tuesdays with on mornings on Main, continue to do that. I went to the board meeting for the Partners in Education. We talked about volunteer recruitment, so we're trying to increase capacity around some of those things, showcasing those partners in the school. School safety is front priority for us. You'll probably see that recurring every month, but we're working, Dr. Livingood again and Chief Palmer and Sheriff Perdue they attended our SLO meeting today for Safe Schools. And also with our Chief Mulligan, making sure that we have things in place. We're looking at evacuation plans, making sure that all of those things are ready. There's some things that don't want to share publicly, but we're making sure all of those things are safe and that their needs are being met. And then I've been attending superintendent's training. I have those listed there. I've got more coming up. And then the last part there, just things that I'll be attending and looking forward to working on your behalf and serving Clark County schools. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have something else where you're going to be updating on virtual learning plans?
Ms. Bush has some of that information.
Okay.
Actually, we have the attendance attached to this probably. Ms. Nance, did we say we were doing attendance with my superintendent's report?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, so you might want to go ahead and sorry about that.
Okay, well that, and then I also had a question about family night. Right as I was walking in the door, I received a call that it being on Wednesday night, and like the concern was is I get off work at 5, I'm coming home, I'm rushing, and then I have church. They kind of feel like they're being left. They would like to participate in this, but they still attend church on Wednesday nights. Is there an opportunity to move that to another night?
That would be something I'll probably need to speak with our building leaders about,
Okay.
because they set those at the building level.
Right, because that's what I
Was there a
told, I said,
particular-
that's a valid concern, and I
Yeah.
will bring it up, so.
So I'll talk to our building leaders about that. And if somebody can't attend something, I mean, I don't want to speak for them that are here, but they're always going to make concessions so that they can bring other folks in on that, but I'll bring that up to them.
Right, well, that was just, one that I said I
Yeah.
would bring it up and question it, so.
You're up. Sorry, Ms. Bush will talk about our attendance and COVID dashboards, and you can also give an update on the virtual learning.
For the CAO, it is an Edmonton program that is assigned specific teachers to our students. The students right now for elementary are 28. Intermediate, that's our 5 and 6, is 10. RDC has 9 students, and the high school and Phoenix have 20. We have a CCPS home hospital teacher assigned to specific grades. We have a SAS, our 3 social workers assigned, and then also Ms. Hoffman for grades 6 through 12 to do weekly check-ins. We have divided the groups into 3 different ones to make sure that we are there for everybody. And also, Ms. Mann has also offered our special ed teachers or facilitators for those students that may have an IEP or a 504. We've had a few hiccups along the way, but this is brand new to the families and to us. So we've tried to tackle each one as they come. The last, I believe, that I've heard so far from our last Zoom meeting with Edmentum is there was a little hiccup with the parents' emails. We had it on one sheet, the staff had put in all the students' parents' emails, and it should have been on another or vice versa, we're not sure, but it's been fixed.
Either way, Edmentum had the correct emails. They did not
Edmentum has the
roll
correct
back.
email, it was
Yeah.
just on our, we put it on the sheet that had the student summaries,
they did
and
not
there was a
load-
parent.
yeah, They didn't load the parent summary.
So we apologize for that. Our technology department is working fast as they can with the internet capabilities with hotspots. Is there anything else that you might,
Me?
anybody?
Oh, yeah, I got plenty.
Okay.
And it's not directed towards you or directed towards anybody in particular. Who is overseeing like where these kids are standing right now? Because I spoke to someone Friday that 2/3 of our kids right now that are on virtual are failing. Because,
Well, I don't know that. I've not heard of that question to be able to find out the answer for you.
okay.
So I don't know. We have 3 SASs and a principal and 2 teachers
Right.
that are on checking weekly. So if we don't know there's a problem, I mean, I don't know how to fix it if we don't know
I
ahead
think
of time.
that from the impression that I'm getting, the teachers are struggling on getting the information themselves to understand to be able to help.
Okay.
And like I said, this is nothing, I know this is a new program that we've got to go through and, you know, whatever, but this is just what I'm understanding. And, I mean, I'm going to be straight honest, I have an honor roll student. You know, I've said this before, you all have heard this in my meetings, he's got straight F's.
Okay, so,
And my mother finally, you know, who has background in education, was able to get in there today and find stuff that we were never told to look for, on different links and different things like that, that she could get into and actually find where they're teaching this stuff, but they're not live.
so our last Zoom meeting, we discussed that with our 3 representatives from Edmentum. And there are live activities, and there are also recorded activities.
We can't
And-
find any live. I'm on there every day with these kids and I cannot find a live session to save my soul.
Well, if I don't know, I can't help you. If Ms. Payne or Ms. Coyle or one of the SASs or Ms. Hoffman, if we don't know individually, we can't help you. The questions we're getting and we're trying to find out and help the parents and the students, I'll be glad at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, first thing.
No, I know.
And, you know,
And that's
try
what
to
I
help.
said, yes. And I mean, Miss Coyle and Miss Payne, they're trying. They are
Yes.
trying so hard. They are working. But I mean, and it's like we're all at a loss. There is a parent that seems to have gotten a really good handle on this that's trying to help everybody. But I think that we probably need to somewhere along the lines figure out, I don't know if we need to have another meeting with just parents and say, you know, this is how you do it.
Are the parents that may be calling you instead of us, are they reaching out to their Edmonton teachers and asking for advice through those emails?
This is me speaking on my own, like from my own situation. I
So
don't
your
know.
particular Edmonton teacher, have they responded to you? Because if they haven't, then that's an issue that we need to address.
I went to my Edmonton teachers and the Edmonton teachers that it says that I have, and then I go to that schedule thing, you know. There's 2 different teachers there. So we don't even know who our actual teacher's supposed to be. Like, I will give you one of my kids' logins and you can look at it, you know, we talked about that before, but it's a whole bunch of confusion. So like, and so then I called Miss Coyle and I said, help me because I'm totally lost. And Miss Coyle called me back and we go back and forth and we just don't understand. It's
So-
nobody's fault, we just don't understand.
Well, no, well, that's what we're here for. We're
Right.
supposed to help if we know there's an issue. So at your first convenience, if you could please come here, or I can come to your home.
Right.
And we will call either Casey or Eric on the phone, or Miss Ellen, she's one of the reps from Edmonton. And we'll have them walk through it. That's what we pay them for.
Yeah, like that's, if we can get numbers and that's, but my thing is if we've got 2/3 of our kids struggling right now in this, I'm not 2/3, and that came from one of those teachers.
I don't know that. So
You
if
need
I
to
don't.
talk to one of those teachers, then we need to figure it out and either have another meeting with all of us parents, so we all get on the same page. Because I think I'm actually pretty good right now that my mom's dug down in there and figured it out. But not everybody has a Nana like I have that
Right.
was in the school system for 20-some years.
Well, we will be glad to
Yeah, I
any
mean-
question, to admit them and help us figure it out if we have to do Zooms every day. Because what we don't know, we can't help with.
Right, and I mean, I don't even care to come in here and sit with you and do a Zoom with them and tell them
Absolutely.
as a parent, look, this is what we're having trouble with, and these kids, because I don't wanna see any of these kids fall behind, and that's what my
Absolutely.
biggest fear is.
So if you look at your schedule and you call me your first convenience and we'll make it happen.
Yeah, we'll text and get back. I mean, that's just kind of the thing, and like I said, I don't want anybody to go out of here thinking I'm blaming Christie or I'm blaming, they've been wonderful, poor Miss Coyle, poor Miss Paint, they are trying. Them poor ladies are trying. I don't deal with Ellen because my kids are not up in my higher school, but I'm sure Ellen's trying just as hard, so.
I think everybody is.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, it's just a very, it's a complicated, and once maybe it rolls out, it might be the best thing since sliced bread, I don't know. But right now, I mean, you just sit there and go,
Well, we'll figure it out together and we'll make it work.
yeah, I mean, that was, so yeah, if anybody else has got any more virtual questions, y'all fire on it. Sorry.
That's okay.
It looks like we're increasing our homeschool enrollment
Yes, ma'am, we have.
quite a bit in just a month.
Yes, ma'am, we have.
Is there, I'm just curious.
When the parents call to come and fill out the form, we always have a meeting with them. They don't just sign and go. And most of it is COVID related. They are worried for whatever personal reasons are most of the reasons for the increase you've seen in the last month.
And I will say that while I don't like seeing more students leave the homeschool, that number would have been much higher if we did not institute the plan that we went forward with. So again, I don't want to see it increase by, 10 students, but I do think that would have been a much higher number had we not went with the masking plan that we had, I think so.
Does the students have live instruction every day?
They have a choice between their subjects. Edmonton tells us they have 3 choices. If I were a student and it's Monday and I have scheduled for reading, they'll have 3 choices that'll either be 2 live and 1 recorded, is what Edmonton is telling us is available. And did you get emails, by the way, last week after our Zoom flooding in with parent emails by
No,
any
I got one this afternoon. So, because I was in I had called Dr. McCollum, or maybe I texted him, we missed each other because I didn't want to bombard all this today. Trying to figure all this out because we were digging down into it today. They did send me one today that was like, welcome parent, like,
Well, that was like from a month ago.
yeah, I'm like, would have been nice
But
to
it is
welcome
supposed to
me.
have a schedule on the left-hand side of the dashboard that tells you what your schedule is and how to choose and pick and, peruse through the Edmonton process. And if parents aren't understanding how to do that, then we need to know and we'll walk them through it.
Yeah,
And maybe it is another meeting. I'm not sure what the answer is, but if I don't know, I can't help them through it.
Right, and I agree, and I mean, but like I go to that daily schedule, and I mean, I pull it up, and it's like a planner, but I don't see anywhere where they can click on and get a live option.
And I'm not the technology savvy. I have to, depend on Justin a lot. So if that is the barrier that we have, then maybe we need to back up and get Justin and Lindsay to help us somewhat.
Yeah, something.
That's
we
kind of
can.
where I'm kind of leaning to as well, because my understanding, I don't know the ladies that are running this, or teachers or overseeing it, but if they don't understand the technology on how the tool works, then how is the students expected to understand it, and families? So I'm just throwing that out there. I don't know if that's the case, but I'm hearing, I'm hearing from other parents that the kids aren't seeing any live instruction.
Okay.
So if there's live instruction out there, or they just don't know where to go to get it, I don't know. It just doesn't seem to, there's a lot of gaps. That's not, and the students' experience is poor.
I found live instruction today, but it wasn't my kids' teachers. So I'm like, do I click on that and jump on somebody else's class? Or am I supposed to be with these teachers? I don't know what I'm supposed to do. So, I mean, it's just it's just confusing.
Okay.
And I mean, it's different from last year. We knew it was gonna be more, and we knew this. And I've researched it, and it's supposed to be a really great program once you get started, but it's like, okay, are we all gonna flunk this first semester while we're
No.
trying to figure it out?
We won't flunk.
So-
We will do our best starting tomorrow. I'll send out emails tonight and we'll just go from there. And you let me know when you're available, okay?
And then
Yeah.
we'll actually back up, because we do have several parents that are using it well. We probably need to start there.
Okay.
That way, the parents that we know that are having a lot of success with their kiddos, making sure, like, what were some of the things that worked well, we can kind of get a gauge from them so that we can help fill the gap for
Yes.
the families that are struggling with it. So before you start sending out emails, I'm just thinking, let's reach out to the.
Perfect.
I know there is one parent that's really been able to help the teachers, because they got on the phone with them. They finally sat on the phone with them all day long and had them walk through piece by piece, which I would love to do. But I don't know when I can do
Well,
all
you just
that.
let me know.
Yeah,
And we'll,
but no, we'll set up and get on there and go from there. Sorry, if y'all got something else to say about this, didn't mean to cut
That's
through
okay.
there.
also our current enrollment dashboard, going along with our homebound. Now, obviously, I do it every day, but today I will do it as soon as we finish with this meeting. But you're able to see that every afternoon. We wait till 3:30 for the ins and outs for the students that have come and gone.
So does that, I'll ask you this question. Are they supposed to be on from 8 a.m. till 3:30? Because I've gotten 3 different answers.
No. Are you talking about our optional program? No, this is for enrollment. I'm sorry, I switched on to the next topic. I apologize.
Okay,
But the answer to that is no,
okay,
because that is one thing that Dr. McComas said that is not healthy.
okay.
Yeah, we do not need kids sitting behind the computer 8 hours a day. So
Right.
it was that was that balance between the choice of the 3 logs versus the recording, so it could be flexible. So we try to build that contract with them to make it more friendly for families, where you're not sitting behind a computer all the time like we were experiencing last year with the Google Classrooms. So,
Well, and like I said, once my mom got into it, it was like a whole different attitude around my kids. They were like, I get something.
Okay.
So, we're getting there.
yeah.
Slowly, we're getting there. Go ahead, Christy, I won't interrupt you anymore.
Sure, all right. The dashboard for attendance is daily, that you have access to view. It has our percentages, and you'll see that preschool is not in the overall district. I believe, if you want to know right now what our district is, today is 90.26. So when that particular slide is updated, today was 90.26. I think we are doing very well. Our teachers, our custodians, our leaders, the bus drivers, I mean, we can't talk enough about these babies being in person. And I know some are 18 years old, but they're still somebody's baby. And we're doing, I think, a great job. Is there anything that you would like to see different, or is I have to give Dr. McComas credit for that, because she gave us some hints, and it worked out beautifully, I think.
Thank you, that they make it work.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Christy. Okay, that was all.
Okay, that's good.
All right, so we are on, I gotta go back to my old school agenda here. Item number 4, update on dual credit classes.
Okay, and I actually gave that to you all. So we're gonna look at that first page that has the 2 charts with it. So EKU, Mr. Keen and I went to that Bluegrass meeting and then had some other meetings to follow up to get some data around the EKU Now. So that's the group of kiddos. We have 35 enrolled. A number of different courses that are taken are 14. So those 35 kids are taking a variety of classes once they get down there. We have a bus that Mr. Fisher has already left, but he coordinates our driver that takes them to EKU. We have a pass rate of 77%, so we're looking at that. Obviously, that's still pretty strong, but they're paying money to take these classes. We want that to be as close to 100 as possible. But with the program, like with any of these rates, you'll see that it's $78 per credit hour, which is an incredibly reduced rate for students to be able to take that. And then, of course, additional cost of books if needed. Morehead State University has a really great program. I'm actually trying to learn a little bit more about it. We have 231 kids that take those courses. They are offered on-site at GRC, but there's 5 different. So it's kind of 231, but a narrower group of courses that are taken. We have a 91% success rate of those kiddos, but again, they have that reduced rate per credit hour. So we really want to maximize the most potential out of all of these programs where we're not double doing classes. Bluegrass Community and Technical College, for example, with this new program that's coming on, one of them is around, like, let's say the electric class, Circuits 1, I think is what it is. It's embedded in there. Well, we also offer that at ATC. So they're open to working with us to determine if we offer that at our campus so that it doesn't hurt our numbers, and then they slice in another course for that schedule. So we're in a work through process with Bluegrass to make sure that we're able to do some of those things through BCTC. We currently have 12 kids enrolled, so we're looking to increase that. They're all taking a different class. And then they're also going currently to BCT campus, and they have a good success rate at 92%. So we do feel like expanding those partnerships is going to really do well for us. And that's a $72 a credit hour, which will also change to that $78 credit hour next semester. We also have 43 kids that take courses through the ATC, and that's 3 of those different CTE classes that are offered over there, and it has a success rate of 93% as well. Same cost for that one. And then if you would look down at the bottom for the 21-22 year, we have 18 at EKU now, and then we have 260. So that number increased this year to 260. So we don't have any data to tell you what those pass rates should be, but we hope they're better, as good as, if not better than what we see in the top chart. BCTC went from 12 to 20 on BCT campus, and it went from 43 to 62 this year at the ACT, or ATC, I'm sorry. So we're excited about those opportunities. And if you turn over, do y'all have any questions about that? Okay. So then if you turn this over on campus, and these are some of those things where we're trying to also work through. For example, at Morehead State University, MSU, you have writing 1, writing 2. Like, how does that fit into their schedules on Infinite Campus? Where at EKU, you have English 101, 102. Well, you want English 101 to be offered their junior year, and you want English 102 to be a class they take for their senior year, because then we also have our graduation requirements that says you have to take an English course every year. So making sure that those schedules are aligned at the college level, that also is parallel to what we need them to be for the graduation requirements. And then you see those other courses that are there at the EK Now group that they go to on campus. Again, our buses take them down there. But we also have welding and medical nurses aid, emergency medical technician, and medical terminology that's offered on our campus at the ATC. At BCTC, that's kind of, again, parallels to some of these courses that they could also take at EKU. They're the exact same credit. So if a student takes English 100 or English 200 at BCTC, and then they want to go to UK, that credit, that is the same English credit that they would have taken at EKU for English 101 or English 102. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay. The universities, state universities with the KCTC system has gotten a lot better, as they're making sure that all of those credits are direct transfers to the state schools. And so you could very well get your associates finished at BCTC in arts or in science and go to UK, MSU, EKU, NKU, any of the state schools, and finish a bachelor's within 2 years or less. So that's kind of how they have really become more efficient with that. And if we can help kids get an associate's before they graduate, they can very well go to college at a much more reduced rate, because instead of paying for 4 years, or if they get scholarships, they're only going to have to pay for 2 years, and they can finish their bachelor's a lot sooner. Okay, any other questions?
Do you think Morehead would look at possibly doing the English 101 and 102 versus writing 1 and 2?
We're gonna be having another meeting with them, because if you look at those numbers.
Yeah, I mean, so
Yeah.
many,
Mhm.
and then they're not gonna get those 2.
Yeah, and they're right there with us. And so it also might be, and I just may not know the answer to this, are writing 101 and writing, or I'm sorry, writing 1 and writing 2 may actually count as their English and
I
1 and
wondered.
English
Okay.
2 credit. Well, English 3 and English 4 credit.
Okay.
And I shouldn't have put this cinnamon disc in my mouth, sorry.
It's okay.
But I'm super excited about this.
Yes.
I hope that shows we are gonna be very committed to not just getting dual credit and associate's degrees, but those workforce readiness
Yes, the HSCs.
programs, industry certifications, and looking at things that's gonna allow students to have multiple pathways to success when they graduate from Clark County schools.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Nothing. I need to call like a 5-minute recess real quick and meet with you and the attorney
Okay.
before we go into number 5. I think we need to double check something real quick.
Okay.
So, if you don't mind. Sorry, guys, I just want to make sure we get this right.
Oh, sorry.
Saying that we're legal? Okay. Okay, we are back in session now at 7:29 p.m. And at this time, we will move on to item number 5. I just wanted to, okay. On here, we've got the consider approval of the second reading to the policy. I didn't see you, Brenda or Sherry. I ran into Megan. That's all great, but we forgot the appointment part. So we're going to need to amend the agenda if that's what the board so chooses, if we are going to appoint our student representatives. So that's kind of where we stand on that one. And that was kind of where I was going with that conversation. Just need to check some things out. So if it's okay with everybody, I would like to, I've got to have, what'd you say, Brian?
You have to, it's got to be 66%. So in this, with these numbers, 4 out of the 5 will have to vote to amend the agenda item number 5. And you can probably amend agenda item number 5 to read, consider approval of second reading to amendment to policy 01.1 and to appoint a student board member.
Okay. Yes. So do I have 4 board members that would be okay?
You'll have to do it because it's an amendment. You'll actually have to have a motion, a second,
Okay.
and then a formal vote.
Okay, I'll make that motion to add that word "and" to that, to 5.
I'll second your motion.
Thank you, Megan. So motion by Richie, second by Hendricks. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Okay, so item number 5 is now consider approval of second reading to amendment to policy 01.1 to and appoint a student board member. Sorry. I did my motion screwed up.
I make a motion.
Motion by Ms. Considine,
I'll second.
second by Ms. Richardson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. So now do you announce who we've appointed?
Welcome.
So at this time, we would like to announce that Mr. Warren Harris is joining us as our student representative.
Thank you all.
He has fought for this for the past 2 years, and I think he will be great to give us information and from a student's point of view, and he's ready. So. All right, item number 6. We're just going to bring you and just drop you right on in there, Warren. Acknowledge topographical survey results conducted by Andreas Engineering. Is that how you say that? Okay. What is it? Indris, I'm sorry. Of the proposed site location for the new preschool facility. Donald Snow.
As you, I'm sure, recall, weeks ago, I'm going to say about 6 weeks ago, the board approved for us to engage in a contract with Indris Engineering to do the topographical survey on the site location that you chose to focus on for the new preschool building out behind Stroh Station. The survey came back. This is an informational item to the board. The survey didn't identify any particular concerns of the property that would exclude it from consideration. It did identify where the utilities could be accessed along Frontier Way, the boundary lines, the deed set, and how some of the property laid on the field. And Randy, your architect from Restaurant, is here to kind of talk about the specifics of the survey and ask any or address any questions that you may have for the survey. This is a preliminary survey. The next survey that we'll be asking the board to consider at some point in the very near future will be the Geotech Survey, which will actually see what's underneath the ground, the rocks and how that structure lays. So if you'll entertain Mr. Brookshire for a moment to give you the final result.
Good evening. How are y'all doing tonight? Great to be here. I'm doing well, thank you. As Donald mentioned, we did embark upon a site survey to document the existing topographic and surface features of this piece of property, 12 acres, that the board owns behind Strode Station as the preliminary selection for the preschool site. We had presented back in, I think it was May, a couple of different options with regards to that site, and this was the one that was decided to move forward with. As Donald also mentioned, nothing surprising was noticed or documented. We had previously noted there are a couple of geological features there on the site, on the south side of the site. The topography is at the high side, directly adjacent behind Strode Station, at about 998 feet, and then in the middle of the site it's about it drops down to 950 on the north and 970 on the south. There's a ridge that kind of runs diagonally through the site, and we've already had internal conversations about how a building might be situated on that site and kind of occupy the center of that, where that kind of the middle space there that you see. Utilities are readily available. Power, water, gas, and sanitary is all down on Frontier Way. Actually sanitary, we anticipate that we're going to tie into the sanitary manhole that's existing at Strode Station. And other than that, that is the results of that topographic survey that Interest Engineering did. I'm open for any questions.
What's the next step?
The next step, there is an agenda item later on in the board meeting to consider a revised BG1. Now that we've completed the programming exercises and we've got this site survey in hand, we are ready to move forward with schematic design. But we're looking for some direction from the board on that BG1 that adjusts the size of that building based on the programmatic exercises that we did, and also updates the budget based on the current cost considerations in the current market.
The other property out on 60,
Yes.
have we considered, thought about?
We have not, since the previous presentation that was done back in May, when we had generally talked about this site, the one at Concrete, and the one on 60. That piece of property that the board currently owns is it's a larger piece of property. It's 23, 24 acres, something like that. I think the two biggest concerns there was you're accessing US 60, which is a state highway, and the amount of traffic that you would have. You would definitely need some type of light that we would need to work with the transportation cabinet on, because you want a dedicated left-hand turn coming out of Winchester, and then a dedicated right-hand turn turning into the site to be able to accommodate the amount of traffic that should be anticipated there. The other, potential challenge, and I think Brian might have some more details about this, is the sanitary service to that site. I think it needs to be extended from a point that's down closer to Winchester out to that piece of property.
Yeah, across private property, we'd have to get easements and negotiate easements for, if WMU required us to hook onto the privilege fee, the sanitary sewer easement that was adopted back in 2014.
But if because I keep hearing eventually we're gonna need a new elementary, is that a site that could hold both a preschool and a new
The
elementary?
23 acres would be able to accommodate, from a size perspective, a preschool and a new elementary school. I think the question might be, would US 60 handle the amount of traffic
That is the question.
that an elementary school and a preschool would entail?
We had the same challenge with GRC, if you'll remember. We
Oh,
had
yeah,
transportation
I remember,
budget.
yes. And that's the thing, but is the bypass gonna be able to handle the traffic of another preschool over there as well? Because it's a cluster.
think it's a valid concern.
I mean, I'm just asking, I don't know, I think I was absent when this was kind of all discussed before, I don't think I was here.
You may have been, we went through all 3 properties and.
Yeah, I don't think I was
approved to
here, I think.
Go
that was
forward with this
when I was out
property.
of town.
Right.
So, I mean, that's just.
One of our reasons was too, the 24 acres, we thought if, for the future, if you needed to build something bigger, you would have the property at that point, whereas if we used it for the preschool, it might limit you, I think, in the future, so.
Donald, this may be a question for you, but how long have we been sitting on that property?
The
Brenda
23
might
acres.
know. Yeah.
A long time, yeah, that was Buzzy Rosenfeld negotiated that deal with the North
I'd say
family.
in the late 90s.
I'd say that's fair. Yeah, we've been sitting on it for a long time and not able to use it for anything.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of, I mean, like, how long are we gonna sit on it?
I don't know, I would have to look at, I mean, putting a preschool out there with no direction on when anything else is gonna be built out there with all the little ones, I'd rather for them. I mean, I think that's what we had that discussion about, where they were safer in the environment that, with the facility and the area we chose initially. Instead of out there in the country with nothing there, not knowing when anything will be there. Other than
I'm just
preschool.
basing it off of, you know, if we're talking, we're gonna need a new elementary by, I mean, that's what they kept. We're expanding, and of course, you know, we're gonna have COVID boom. Everybody was locked in the house, so we probably very well may need a new elementary. I don't know, Brenda, this is kind of your forte on how that goes up and down. I mean, I don't know, I'm just, you know, Baker, when they're trying to get into Baker and Strode and you're trying to balance through there, it's as bad as going into Justice and Concord. You're trying to get in there and traffic's lined out.
So-
And you're,
I think the staggered time, we talked about that as well. In the mornings, I don't know, but definitely for dismissal, they're gonna be out a whole hour before Baker would dismiss. So that
1:05.
should help. But I don't know about the mornings.
yeah, see, I don't know about the mornings
And
either.
the property is accessible both from Frontier Way and from Educational Plaza Way, so you could come in actually 2 different ways to the side of that property. And to make a point relative to the elementary schools, KDE will not give us permission if we're under-enrolled at our elementary schools. We have to justify a need for a new elementary school. And just to use just as an example, it's a 600 student school, currently has a 450 student enrollment. So, you know, we would have to and that's the case with several of our elementary schools.
Oh, yeah,
We would have
I
to
know.
justify.
I mean, I just have it sitting on this property and we just keep sitting on it and sitting on it and sitting on it, and then it's like we're bunching schools together and and blocking more traffic, and, you know, there's all those houses back in there on that side. I'm just thinking out loud. I don't have the perfect answer for it. You know, originally it was going over there by Justice Concrete and in that area. And then we switched and went across town, so. I don't know.
When we looked at the concrete site, but because of the way that it's chopped up with the utility on the backside and some other geographical features, it ended up being only about, if I remember correctly, about 7 acres of developable space, which wasn't large enough for the building, the parking, and the playgrounds that are associated with the preschool facility. Is why that piece of property was kind of taken off the list.
It's 9 acres, and I think 6 was usable.
Yeah.
And how many acres are we talking that we're gonna use for the preschool over,
It's true.
yes?
It'll take all 12 of those acres that are in that red boundary that's on the site survey.
Because that's, you know, we built the top of the line athletic complex. That needs to be the standard for the top of the line preschool, top of the line. You know, so I don't wanna short them. If we've got this large amount of property just hanging out there. So, I mean, I guess that's you're the professional, Randy. Where's the best place to put it?
I think the board made the right decision when they chose to look at the stroke piece of property.
Then I can go with that. If that's you do this for a living, so I can go with that.
Again, we played around with the building footprint. I think there's going to be adequate space on there for a building. There's going to be adequate space for parking. delineation of buses versus parents as far as, separating that traffic on site so that those are two separate components in addition to the service that's going to be required. And as Donald mentioned, there's an opportunity to make a connection to Frontier Way, the way that there's also a connection coming off of Strode to Frontier Way. Which, as we look at the layout, we'll figure out what the most advantageous connection is, whether it's just to bring service in that direction, or if there's a way that we can bring some other traffic in that direction.
And part of the schematic design will be the architects figuring out how traffic flows in that facility, given the other locations of the other buildings that we have in that vicinity. So that'll be part of the design as well.
Good luck with that, because, that's the, every year, start of school, it's the biggest complaint you get. It's gridlocked.
Yeah, for the first week.
Oh, yeah, first week, and everybody's stuck, and everybody's late, and everybody's mad.
Back to Mr. Tolby's point, but from a safety perspective, we also talked about how it needs to be positioned because of the multiple playgrounds that preschool has, and then making sure that those are positioned safely so that when parents come, your KDE guidelines for how preschools are set up are much different than elementary schools, so like being able to have immediate access out of the classroom to playground, so that's something I stay very concerned about. So we also talked about some of those things when he was on board with me with the process, so.
Yeah. No, I'm not gonna be a negative Nancy with whatever you all think.
But we did talk about that other property, because I didn't realize that we.
I just wish we were doing something with that. Whether it be a practice field that we let someone use right now while it's doing nothing, I don't care. But we've got land.
You would think our FFA could utilize that better than what's been utilized, but,
It's just sitting.
you mentioned a line item on the agenda for the revised BG. I don't see that, so,
I think it's number 11 under.
no, I was looking.
We wanted you to have the information first, and then it's number 11 under the.
I need to pull it up.
Yeah, I'm prepared to present on that.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you for answering all my
Thank you.
questions. See, Christy, you're not the only one I question.
Can't fix anything we don't know about.
Yeah.
That's
Thank you,
true.
Mr. Starr.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Oh, you're waiting on me. So we can just we'll just acknowledge and then, okay. Item number 7, consider approval of change order number 1 to Beacon for the Clark County Board of Education roof replacement project BG 21-039 for a credit amount of $9.67.
Yeah, take that one to Wendy's, right?
That's right.
So a purchase order basically on the roof project for this building had an unspent balance of $9.87, so 67 cents. So KDE requires that we close that figure out prior to proceed with BG4, excuse me, before proceeding with BG4 closeout forms.
I'll make a motion to approve that.
Motion by Mr. Tolby.
I'll second.
Who was that, Megan?
Thank you.
Second by Henders. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Next one's a lot more substantial.
Yeah. You can go to Arby's. Consider approval of change order number 2 to Corkin Steak Products for the Clark County Board of Education roof replacement project for a credit in the amount of $14.61.
I make a motion, we approve the change order.
I'll second.
Motion by Constantine, second by Colby. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item number 9. You're done.
Done?
Yes, you're off the hook. Review of current bonding potential.
And we asked Mr. Feinhardt to come to go over that for you too.
Okay.
Pleasure to be here tonight. My name is Lincoln Feinert with RSA Advisors. I know some of you are familiar with my presentation, others are not, and so in the interest of time, I'm going to be brief but also detailed, if you will, so please stop me at any time for questions. As you guys get ready to consider some action on the preschool BG that follows my presentation, my job is to make you guys comfortable with the current status of your ability to issue bonds for a project. I always try to simplify. When I open this stuff up and share it with my wife, she says it makes her head hurt. So that's my goal tonight, is for that not to happen. So I want to present your bonding capacity as if it were walking into your local bank to take out a home loan. It really is that simple. When you walk into your local bank and sit down with the loan officer, the very first question they ask is, well, tell me about all the debt that you may already have on the books. So if you'll turn to page 1, each column on page 1 represents the principal plus interest by fiscal year on various outstanding bond issues that have been issued in the past. And if we would just jump to the far right-hand column, K, you'll see that for approximately the next 10 years, the sum of all of your outstanding debt currently on the books is $4,025,000 or so. And then after 10 years, you'll see as debt starts getting paid off, that total begins to decline. The next question, of course, is tell me all about your revenue that you have coming. The most familiar, on page 2, column B, your local nickel, this is just simply 5 cents per $100 of assessed property value. So on a $100,000 piece of property, that's going to equal $50. Here in Clark County, in column C, you guys have 2 of those nickels. Each one represents $1,638,772 of revenue. In addition to those 2 nickels, in column D, you've got what we call capital outlay. This formula has not changed in 25 years. It's simply $100 for every unit of average daily attendance. Now, let me step back and say one large difference between a home mortgage, which customarily would be for a 30-year term. In the school world, your bonds are typically issued for a 20-year term. Now, it is possible to do a 25-year bond issue. Those are a little more rare. KDE does allow them. It's just like with an auto loan. You know, the shorter it is, the less interest you're paying. 20 years is customary. So throughout the presentation, you'll see that I have, for example, columns B and column C, based on your assessed property values. To be conservative, I have assumed no increase at all in those assessed property values over the next 20 years. KDE actually puts some guardrails on those of us out in the business and says, well, you have to be conservative in column D and hold back 20% of that number just in case ADA should decline or something like that. You know, if you're going to enter in and lock yourselves into a 20-year bond issue, KDE says we can only use 80% of your capital outlay number for bond projection purposes. Columns E and F, these are very exciting portions of the SEEK formula. It's referred to as the Facilities Support Program of Kentucky. It is an equalizing mechanism to try to, I always use Campbell County in northern Kentucky as an example. They have such a heavily industrialized tax base. Their properties are so expensive. They receive such a large portion of their funding from their local nickel property tax that the way the SEEK formula works, they receive less in these equalization funds. More rural districts with more depressed property value is going to receive more. Column E and column F each represent your equalizations. Columns G is the sum of all your revenue coming in from your what we call the local sources. In column H, we just simply subtract out the debt that's already on the books. And then in column I, this would be the amount of revenue over the next 20 years, net of everything that's already on the books, that you, in essence, would be presenting to your loan officer from your local funds. In addition to those funds, though, in columns J, K, and L, J and K the School Facilities Construction Commission. Every 2 years, the General Assembly, what used to be $100 million, the General Assembly would allocate a pot of money to this School Facilities Construction Commission. The last biennium, that number's been chopped down to $57 million, but the School Facilities Construction Commission, they look at every district's district facility plan. They go straight to the bottom line, the big bold number that says unmet need. They literally open a big spreadsheet and they plug in every district's unmet need. That's why during the LPC process, we always encourage list any legitimate need, even if you know you don't have the bonding capacity to do it. The larger your unmet need, the larger your pro rata portion of that assistance money. And so those come to you every 2 years, columns J, column K. Column L is actually, we refinanced a bond issue not too long ago, and when we refinance a bond that has some of the SFCC's dollars in it, the SFCC don't get those savings. It goes back in your account, if you will, for future use on a future project that qualifies for SFCC funding. One of the first things I should have mentioned also is that all these revenue dollars we're speaking of are very heavily restricted for building fund purposes only. So this is not textbooks and such like that. Bottom line, column M. That's the actual revenue source per year over 20 years that you have to work with. On page 3, column C.
I have a question about.
Sure.
Column F, why does it cease after the additional seat of 2031?
That is a very good question. So column F is tied to column C. Column C, I believe column C may be mislabeled. Alicia, was column C an urgent project? So
Category 5.
yeah, so equalization, that column C nickel was not subject to voter recall. It was a special nickel that you were able to levy without voter recall. And so the General Assembly, they sort of look more favorably on nickels that have been added that were subject to recall. So at that time, they said, we're going to let you levy this nickel without bringing it to the voters, but we're only going to equalize it for a period of 20 years. Had it been subject to recall, then it would have been perpetual. Now, there's a large handful of districts that are in that same pot. There very likely could be an opportunity in the future to gather a group of superintendents and lobby to extend that. But that is a very good question.
And we talked about that at our superintendent's meeting last week when we brought up finance. And so I'm not quite sure how that's going to take off, but we did bring up that conversation because several of the districts are in that
Or in the same situation?
Yes. On page 3, column C, I sort of have modeled up a hypothetical bond issue. All the way at the bottom, you'll see it's sum of $16 million. Column C represents the principal payments on that hypothetical $16 million. Column D, that's labeled coupons, that's the same. That's the interest rate. And another effort to be conservative. We're sitting here today. The reality is, as fast as you may move, you wouldn't be breaking ground for 6, 8, 9. Who knows what interest rates are going to be 2 weeks from now, let alone 9 months, a year from now. And so I have been very conservative in interest rate projections. So your bonding capacity would be higher if you could sell bonds today, but at all costs, I want to avoid the situation where I have to come back before you a year from now when all the design work is done and say, I'm sorry, rates have went up more than I anticipated. So very conservative interest rates. If we jump all the way to the far right-hand column K, if you did issue a full $16 million, And if at the time you issued those $16 million, interest rates really were, we hope they stay where they're at today, but even if interest rates were as high as they were in column D, column K is what you would have left over following a $16 million bond issue. Now, the first 16 years in column K, I have intentionally held out approximately $225,000 that could disappear through potential decline in ADA or a combination of, currently when I look at your assessment numbers on your SEEK page, KDE is allowing us to use full-day kindergarten in the calculation of ADA. That's no guarantee past this year. I definitely would not, that is factored in though to the equalization formula. So I've intentionally backed that out. We hope it gets continued, but it would be reckless to anticipate that. So, so as you look in column K, I'm getting into the weeds just a little bit. If we lose that kindergarten funding, if ADA continues a little bit of it, I'm conservative because who really knows what ADA with this current environment?
We don't want to reckless finance.
Exactly. So, you know, if column K was to go to 0 down through 2016, that leaves you some big bullet points down, you know, the last 4 years. The encouraging thing there is every 2 years, in addition to an additional offer of assistance from the School Facilities Construction Commission, you also can anticipate an increase in that equalization formula. The goal of the nickel equalization, if you took the assessed property value of every property in the state, added that number together, and then you added up every student in the state, if you divided the property value by the students and assigned a per student value, the goal of equalization is to provide funding for each student at 150% of the statewide average. And so statewide, the ADA is declining, property values are increasing, and so that's why traditionally we do see an increase in funding of the equalization. So that was a lot of information very quickly. Very, very conservatively, 16 million today. Even if you issued that, especially with 2 nickels, I'm reserved to use the term bonded out because you know you're always going to have an additional offer of assistance from the SFCC. Anytime debt rolls off, that's contributing to future bonding capacity. It's always evolving. It's typically always growing. It's a very fluid number that I continually update your administration and glad to report back when I can have a larger number, but right now I just like being conservative and your number is 16 million. Questions? Thank you guys very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. All right. We are on the consent agenda items. Is there anything anybody wants to pull off?
Mr. Told we didn't want to.
Yeah, item 11, I'd
Okay.
like to
You want,
understand that.
do you want to pull off and discuss it, or?
I want to see what the new BG1, what the revised BG1 is.
Okay,
And I have a couple of questions on that too.
okay. So we'll just pull it off and do it completely separate and move on with the rest.
Would you want to do 12 as well? Since it kind of centers around preschool, between owner, construction manager's advisor? Are you good with that?
I'm good with that. I mean, if you want to pull it, you can.
No.
Oh.
just-
Okay. Is there anything else anybody else wants to pull off? Between items number 10 through 32?
I just have a question on one of the accounts payable. And I want to thank Dr. McComas and Alicia to give, I sent you a laundry list
We
yesterday,
need
so.
there, yes, that one's separate.
Is that the last one?
Yes, that's 34. We're doing 10 through 33.
We're not doing 11. You're doing 10 and then 12 through 33, correct?
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll wait on that one.
Yeah, hold on a little bit. Okay, so we're doing item number 10 and then 12 through 33. Would anybody like to make a motion for that?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Mr. Colby,
A second.
second by Ms. Considine. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, motion carries 5-0. Okay, now we can go back to item number 11. So I guess that would be Donald's done. I lied to you, you're not done.
No, not done.
Nope.
Okay, just to recap, the board approved the initial BG1 for the preschool center back in 2020, and it was based on KDE's model program for preschool. And it was based on KD's estimate of square footage cost to build a new building of $243 per square foot. The architects have acknowledged, and I think others as well, that KDE is long overdue for revising their model program that they have out there for districts to consider for preschool, because preschool has changed so dramatically over the years. So it's a long overdue model revision that even KDE themselves acknowledges needs to be revised. As Randy, Mr. Brookshire has indicated earlier, they finished their programming, they've interviewed preschool staff, they've taken information back to various committees, steering committees, and now have presented to you a revised BG1 based on the consequences or the results of their programming. Right before this meeting, I drew up an Excel sheet that I think would be very helpful if you'll entertain me just to pass this around and let you kind of look at this, because it was very helpful to me to kind of get a sense of why we are where we are at. We based the KD model program was based on 38,209 square foot for a model preschool program. We are now with this revised BG1 at a recommendation of 45,568 square feet, which is roughly 6,400 square feet more than what the model program of KD suggests to districts. So what I did was kind of look at the 4 areas that the architects have considered a revision from that base square footage of 38,209 square feet. When it comes to classrooms, they increased the model KDE program in those classrooms from 825 square feet per classroom to 900 square feet per classroom to match what the Head Start regulations suggest, because we're a very strong partner with our Head Start preschool program. So roughly that's 75 square feet per classroom times 18 classrooms, and that'll give you an approximation of an additional $405,000 to add that extra space to the preschool classrooms that would match the KDE revision, the Head Start recommendations. The next area was the kitchen. The model program of KDE recommended a 1,250 square foot kitchen. After programming, the recommendation is for 2,000 square feet. They thought the kitchen was way too small to accommodate the number of children based on their service delivery model. That was including food service personnel as well. And if you multiply, or if you do the math on that one, that's an additional 750 square feet they're asking for in the kitchen, times $300 per square feet is what the architects tells us we need to budget for, was an additional $225,000. In the cafeteria, the KD model doesn't include a cafeteria. They expect preschools to combine their cafeteria and gymnasiums together. So the preschool staff is recommending you have separate programs. You have a separate cafeteria from a separate lunchroom. That would be an increase of 3,000 square foot at $300 per square foot, or an additional $900,000 in the revised BG1. And then the administrative offices, KD suggests 750 square foot, but if you start looking at all the administrative personnel in preschool, you have your four family service workers, 2 speech therapists, occupational therapists, physical therapists, school counselor. Those staff require offices, so the recommendation is to increase that to 2,120 square feet, or an additional 1,370 square feet. At $300 per square feet, that's another $411,000 increase. Total in the construction cost based on $300 per square feet for those 4 areas of increased space resulted in $1.9 million, $941,000. So that's how they kind of got there to the increase from the previous BG1 to the current BG1. Now, when it comes to per square feet figures, as I had indicated previously, the original BG1 that you approved was based on KDE's recommendation or estimate of $243 per square foot pre-pandemic. They have now revised that square footage to $262 per square foot and expect districts to budget on that figure. Your architects are recommending you consider $300 per square foot because they think that's the more realistic climate in the bidding market right now. But I wanted to make particular emphasis. I have a high regard for KDE's estimate, and I also have a high regard for your architect's estimate. So down below that, I kind of gave you a sense of the differences between those two figures, the $262 per square foot and the $300 per square foot. If you're looking at the two line items for 38,209 square feet at $300 per square feet, you're at $11 million for the construction cost only. For the $45,000 that's being recommended on the revised BG1 at $300 per square feet, you'd be at $13.6 million. If you drop down to the two figures below that, same square footage at $262 per square foot that KDE is suggesting that boards consider, then you're at $10 million for the 38,000 square feet for the previous, or for the model preschool program for KDE versus the 45,000 square foot at 262 would be 11.9 million. So I hope that helps you to kind of conceptualize the basis of the revised BG1, which is now 13.6 million.
So the original estimate was 9.2 million.
9.3.
Yeah, 9.3. Okay. And what do you have in this revised? Because you've given us different ones here.
Yeah.
What's built into this revised BG?
You have the classroom space, which includes 1,350 square feet, going from 825 square foot per class to 900. And then you have the kitchen that adds an additional 750 square feet to your kitchen. You have your cafeteria, that's 3,000 square feet.
Mm-hmm.
And then your administrative offices, which adds 1,370 square feet.
The clinic's not built into this.
The clinic's not factored into this, which is roughly 2,000 additional square feet. And as Dr. McComas has indicated, we'd like to bid this out if we could, as with the 400 student capacity considered as an alternate because it's free. Once you put it to bid, it doesn't cost you anything to bid out what the construction cost would be for adding 5 additional classrooms, which would get your facility to 450 students. And possibly the clinic is an alternate as well, but that would be what we're asking the board to direct us to do.
Because originally in that 9.3, it didn't include the clinic either.
That's correct. Nor did it include the facility for 450 students. It addressed 350. But common space is for 450, and that's an important point. This proposal, as did the previous one, designed the building for common space for 450 students, but for classroom space for 350 students. With the plan,
the same formula, at $300 a square foot, it'd be about $600,000 additional for the clinic.
I'm not following.
For the $2,000 square feet?
Oh, at $300 per square feet, that's correct.
So that, yeah.
With the architect's figures. With
Right.
KD figures, it'd be lower than that.
Yeah. So we got 16 million in bonding potential, and right now we're looking at 13.7. And what was the Phoenix Academy?
1.8, but that was pre-pandemic, so.
We will have another, Mr. Kleinart has left, but we should have another million in bonding by 7/22 beyond the 16 million.
That's all the questions I have. Thank you.
Are we ready to go on item number 11?
Yeah, I make a motion to approve item 11.
All right, motion by Mr. Colby.
I'll second
Who was that, Megan?
Yes.
Okay. Y'all stumble like up there, no? All right, seconded by Hendrick. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Okay, Bill, we are on item number 34.
Yeah, just real quick, there was two specific line items, and again, I want to thank everyone for getting the information back to us in a very quick time frame. So thank you. The only thing I wanted to follow up on, there was two line items for two individuals for $15,000 apiece for 3 days of training. And it was just for 3 days. Is there additional days as part of that?
Yeah, I was not here when they did that. It was part of the inquiry-based training. We are wrapping it into the PLC work that we're doing. So that was from the University of Kentucky, is that where Dr. Swan's at? So they came in and had done, prior to that, work in, I don't want to say middle schools, but in the elementary schools for sure, right?
No, the Swans were 5 through 12.
5 through 12. And so then they came,
Inquiry-based training.
yeah, then they came back and did additional work for those 3 days with GRC specifically, that's more developmentally appropriate for inquiry-based training at the high schools. And so beyond that, I don't know what their contracts look like. I can tell you that we are wrapping that into that PLC cardinal lead that we had around the like walkthrough tools and those types of things. But it was 3 days worth of work that they came in and did with multiple grade levels and content areas for inquiry-based learning.
Okay.
And that was in July, I believe. Is that correct, Alicia, Julie?
It was in August, the first part of August with the PD days
Okay.
in our calendar.
So it was the inquiry-based training, and we actually had a presentation from the lady, from the doctor from UK that came in. It was very impressive.
Yeah,
with
Dr.
the training.
Swan.
Yeah. And we are rolling that out throughout GRC and our schools and RDC and internally. Will there be additional requirements for them to come in for, I mean, I really
Yeah.
like the training. It just
Yeah.
seemed for 3
Very
days.
pricey.
Yeah,
Right, right.
yeah.
No.
Yeah, okay.
So I'm not sure.
Okay.
I was asking some of the same questions. We talked about that this morning. We do know that, again, that that's part of our work that we're going to be following up on in terms of that PLC. But I don't think their contract for those 2 payments of $15,000, I don't think their contract had anything for them contingent upon coming
Okay.
back to do any work. But I will review that and let you know. But at this time, I don't feel like that's the case.
I really like that approach.
Yeah.
The whole approach, so, but yeah.
Yeah, but there's also things that they offer that we, for not as expensive, where we can send folks to, and where you can do like, I don't wanna say train the trainer models, but where we can go get other work with multiple districts taking place, and be able to bring them back to make sure that we're following up on that, but we don't have, am I correct on that, Julie? We don't have anything for them to come back into our district.
Okay, thank you.
I
One thing I
have
had.
a question. So are you using Title II for any type of professional development?
Ms. Bonsall, do you wanna share a little
Because I know
bit?
that that's a good source of,
Yeah,
instead of
Yes.
general fund.
Definitely. We've also, we're implementing, of course, the new teacher cadre to help with our new teachers in the district. So Title II is going to pay for, of course, stipends for our mentor teachers, for our new teachers in the district. So we're doing things like that at Title II, as well as just several other professional development through our reading, initiative and especially math instruction.
So we're keeping the focus narrow on with the PLC under the DeFore solutions tree. So that's a company under the DeFore model. That's again asking some of those questions. How do you know students are learning? What do you do if they're not learning? What do you do if you have learned more than the other group of students? Like what are you doing to prepare individualized instruction for your students? So it's all around those 4 questions, and then that inquiry-based model is going to connect to that. The mentor teacher group is slightly different. So we're working with the mentor teacher group also out of some of that Title II money that you're talking about.
The old K-tip.
Yeah, and I don't want to say survey principals, but we were asking our leaders, like, what are the greatest needs that you see? And that, that in itself is one of those. So you're also looking at like environmental strategies, discourse moves, how are you pairing students for instruction? So making sure that, what we're also finding is some of those younger teachers, they're really versatile in technology, but they are struggling with the classroom management side of it. So like, how can I do things that's really creating active engagement, authentic learning with the students if it's not in a virtual world anymore? So that's what some of that Title II money is gonna come from. Mhm. And did the shared Google sheet help?
Oh, yeah, I appreciate that,
Yeah,
thank you.
good.
Yeah, that was very nice, so, thank you.
Any more questions?
Mm-hmm.
All right, anybody like to make the motion for item number 34? Authorize payment of salaries and accounts payable.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Mr. Hawkins,
A second.
second by Ms. Considine. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. All right, item number 35, consider RFPs and approval for a board attorney. So you all have the applications in your drive.
I brought hard copies.
Okay. Oh, this is just one hard copy each? What is this?
Yeah, I'm sorry. That's what was scanned
Okay.
into the drive.
Okay. So does anybody want to look, Brenda? You need a hard copy?
Okay.
All right. Brenda's our hard copy girl, I know. All right, so any discussion, ideas, where we want to go from here? Anybody want to start the conversation?
We had one applicant that didn't really put in a proposal, just put in a resume and a cover letter. I don't know if that met our requirement or what we were asking.
Was that Mr.
That one, yeah.
Barry?
Yeah,
Dr. Parrish had reached out to him, and she got that back.
His hourly rate will be $200 an hour.
That wasn't in our packet.
No,
I got
she
that
just
today.
got that on Saturday, September the 18th.
Well, Dr. Parrish, I think, received it before then, but I'd asked her to send it to me. I thought you would probably ask about that, yeah, sorry.
So he sent it past the required due date.
She reached out to him, Dr. Parrish did, and then he responded to her, his hourly rate. Is the way I read this, correct?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think the original,
This is
yeah, on,
you, isn't it?
yeah, that's,
This is you, this is,
oh, the other men may not have printed, but she had reached, because I had asked her, when she told me he responded, I had asked her, I said, do you mind forwarding that to me so that I can have the original timestamp?
Right.
So it's on another sheet like this, I should have clicked on that and I didn't.
okay.
Yeah, but I can get that for you.
But I'm assuming, yes, it would have been after the date that since she reached out to him.
Yeah, I don't know what day he showed this in or when
If it was past the date that we were asking for, I know what I'm accustomed to, and in my industry, we get disqualified.
Was this just that one answer he gave her? Because like with the one application, it gives details. Was that just the one liner?
Yeah, she's basically telling me he responded.
This is her,
Right.
but this is him?
It's saying the
Okay.
same thing. Yeah, so but she's sending this to me on Saturday and I asked her to forward me the original.
Okay. So in the original but it's still the same? Like, he didn't divide it out to what, like, the one says, I will charge for text, email. Did he send anything like
No,
that?
I
That's my
believe
question.
it just says the $200
Okay.
rate. So if you want, I can go get my phone and look at that, but I believe it just said the $200 rate.
I mean, I just wanted to be clear on that since one was very specific to that.
In my opinion, it's immaterial what the rates are, based upon the fact that when he submitted it, when it's submitted.
Looks like the original was on the 15th of this month. I think on the same said person that we're talking about, I mean, if we're just gonna go through one at a time here, may wanna weigh in also, because in the references, and I mean, this may be something you can help with as well. It says, the first assistant, I don't know how much we're allowed to say right now. We're allowed to just put this out there. I don't want to just like give out somebody's whole. If I say what this person represents, then that's going to get who this is.
Well, that question was brought up, and so I did some open meetings research. If you plan to discuss a meeting to hire a service, then there is no open meetings exception. And that was a 1979 Attorney General. And then also there's a 94 open meetings decision. So I mean, you're hiring a firm, so just like you do with when you, Winchester Insurance, and I think who was the other, Neely Wade, you know, you identified, here they are, here's what their proposal is, here's what their rates are. So
you're saying that I can refer to this person, who this person is?
just like, you know, it's no, we made an application, you can refer to Grant Rose and Humphrey. Our firm made an application and we set forth the terms and conditions like the RFP, so you can mention them.
Okay, well, this said person says they're the first assistant to the Clark County Attorney. Is that a conflict with our students that go in front of the county attorney? Because they would be prosecuting, right? You know, I mean, I don't know. That may be an Ellen claim. I don't know. I don't know who we would go to get that answer.
I don't think they are in front of the county attorney, unless it would be a different, outside of school.
They would be prosecuting, right? Don't they prosecute?
Educational neglect.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I don't know. That's something we need to find out. Wherever you all want to go with this on that, that was just a concern I had when I read that. Because, I mean, he was very forthcoming about that. That's what he is.
Would that be something we would ask in a, like, I don't know, a one-on-one? I don't know.
Interview, do you go do it in an interview, or do you ask somebody, do you go to OEA and ask them? Who do you ask?
He would seek a Kentucky Bar Association opinion as to conflict, whether or not it would constitute a conflict, and their opinions are binding, just like we did before we made any application.
Yeah, I mean, I would just like to know for sure where we stand on that.
Why would we consider a proposal that was incomplete?
I'm not saying I would. I was just giving my statement on.
I know, I'm just asking.
That was my concern, was just reading that I don't know that you can even hold that position. So what's your suggestion? Knock that bottom one out and,
Well, I know in any
Interview.
other industry, when a bid is, or a request is put in and there's a due date, and the information requested isn't submitted, that person usually gets disqualified, that person or firm usually gets disqualified. Chopped in on that end personally, put a bid in and missed one little thing, and just get disqualified.
Dr. McComas, do you have any suggestions?
You can open it up for bid again, if that's something that you're interested in. You can set up requests for interviews, if that's what you're interested in. You can look at your applicants tonight and make a determination. I believe Mr. Thomas, are those the three options that we discussed the other day?
So was there a deadline for the RFP?
I believe we ran it the first time for, was it the 17th or the 15th, Ms. Nancy? The 15th?
Okay. And you think these are the documents that were received by the 15th?
Yeah. And that was an arbitrary date. No one said, 30 days, 2 weeks, or whatever. So we ran it, her ad requested that we pull the advertisement that we had used in the past from the Board of Education. That's what Ms. Nance did. So we ran it parallel with that advertisement and received these three applications or RFPs.
Well, okay, let's say we consider all three. And I believe the original motion last meeting was the reason we were going through this process was to determine if the district and the citizens was getting a fair, doing a check and making sure it was a competitive price point, I believe. I don't want to put any words in anybody's mouth, but it's what the gist of the meeting was. Somebody can correct me if it's wrong, that's all. And just looking at the price point, we're looking at $200 an hour from two bidders, one of which put in a late bid, and then Grant Rose and Humphrey has included a 25 hours at $2,000 a month, which equates to $80 an hour if you use the 24-hour as a guideline. Anything over 25 hours from Grant Rose and Humphrey is $140, still $60 less than the other two bidders. So we're looking at a minimum of paying an additional $3,000 a month if we entertain another legal service other than one we have. So based upon the original request, I would think Mr. Thomas and his firm is very competitive and is actually providing a service to the community at a far lower market value than his competitors out there.
the services to be rendered under contract is definitely longer than when I go down here.
I would like to just set up some interviews personally.
Who do you want to interview? All
Well, I
or?
mean, whoever submitted.
I would be okay with that, just because I think you learn different stuff about different people, and not that Mr. Thomas's price is not competitive. I just think with everything that we have surrounding us currently, it would just be good practice, probably.
So what was the original motion for that? Because we've accommodated that in the proposal.
That was just me talking, like, hey, make sure whatever, and I'm from and this is not personal to Brian, but, if I'm getting someone to work in my house, or in my car, a lot of times the cheapest isn't always the best, and I just think that we have a negative energy surrounding our board, and I just think it would be prudent for us to maybe do some interviews. I think it would be good practice.
So we're gonna ask the citizens of Park County to pay more money for us to interview legal services that is gonna be much higher than what they're paying today, if we went with a different legal service.
I mean, if you put it that way, sure, but I just think it would be good practice if we did that.
And currently, I think if you look, a lot of districts don't have an attorney that's at every board meeting. So maybe that would be a way that we could adjust our costs with.
But at this point in time, I personally would rather have one at every board meeting right now. Just until things are more comfortable around us as a whole. And that's just my opinion. I mean, I just would rather.
Well, that's not common practice.
Well, Molly and I have discussed, Dr. McComas, sorry.
It's okay.
I've discussed that as well, and I mean, that's just, I understand that, I went through the Buzzy era, I went through the Elkins era, and I'm now at the Thomas era. It's just, we've always had an attorney. But right now, I think we've got so much going around us that, yes, I would like to have an attorney present at every meeting until we get a better handle on things, to protect everybody at this point, not just one person or anything else. I personally, I would rather hold this off a little longer. We've got these interviews, applications, and just kind of wait and see what we've got going on here. I don't know. Are we in a hurry right now to interview?
No, I'm not in a hurry. But I do want to interview, because I do feel like that, to me, I have questions that I would like to ask. Since they are representing me, I have some questions that I would like to have some answers so that I feel comfortable. That's just me, period.
Well, they represent all of us, they represent the board,
They
not just
do.
individual.
No, but I feel like I have questions.
But we
As a
all
board
are part of
member.
the board.
Yeah,
We all
I mean-
make up the board. And if we have people that are uncomfortable, then we need the opportunity to interview. And I think we've got the ball rolling, let's just go ahead and proceed and start the interviews.
I'd like to understand where and why is this going in a different direction than what the original motion was.
Do we have the original motion? Is that what's in the?
Well, it was the discussion regarding the initial motion. The original motion was to open up, was to open up for legal services. But the reasoning behind it, I don't think was captured in the minutes, was, if we can go back and look at the video, was to make sure that our legal services was competitive.
I don't.
Correct me if please.
I did say that, but I just think it was more of a, every so many years you look at different stuff, kind of like that.
I don't think you weren't the one to make the motion, were you?
No, but I did talk about that pretty openly here.
Okay.
And, I do think that, Brian has put in a competitive bid, and I do think that, the other two bids, while one left some stuff out and one seems quite a bit more. I do think if you had someone else in here and you were talking to them about maybe the specifics of their bid and kind of how they bid that out, it helps you understand different things. I don't think at this point it's about their original motion, but it's about professional services and making sure we have a board attorney who the majority of the board has confidence in.
And I'm just going by what we do by normal practice, where if we put a bid out for any other services, Mr. Stump, and I'm not picking or saying anything, but if we put a bid out for, trucks.
I get where you're going with
maintenance,
that.
We
but
just
I'll-
we go with the lowest bidder as long as everything else is equal. So evidently, there's thoughts that everything is not equal. So that's what I'm trying to get at. I'm sorry?
I will tell you, the only two people that, it's my understanding that we as the board have any control over would be Dr. McComas and Mr. Thomas. They are hiring. These are the only personnel type issues that we deal with, and I think that we're a little unique in maybe being able to conduct ourselves a little differently, where this is, I mean, Molly's, Dr. McComas, the other two people that we interviewed, their salaries might have been less, but we didn't look at that. We looked at who we thought was the best, and we interviewed them each and had closed discussion amongst ourselves and worked it out that way. And I don't see the attorney as being any different as the way we approach the superintendent.
We did the same thing on adding turf to the football field. I mean, we went the extra mile, we went
And
and
you meet with people, you have discussion.
Okay. The original motion read, Ms. Richardson requested to add item 12A, advertising for proposals for legal services under internal board business. That's what-
Oh, I know, I was referring to the discussion of the motion that we had.
Bottom line is, I just think it's kind of good practice. And I think Mr. Thomas put in a great bid. I wish we would have gotten more to maybe kind of like bounce different things off of, because we have two very different bids. It seems like one is of the school that Ms. Richardson was speaking of earlier, that maybe they're not present at every board meeting and things like that. And maybe she might be open to doing a, blanket quote that encompassed that. And we didn't specifically say that we wanted someone present at every meeting, and I just think it would be good housekeeping if we had interviews and maybe went a little more in depth with that.
Why wouldn't you want a board attorney at every meeting? Like I said, I'm going back to Buzzy days. I mean, Brenda, you were here when Buzzy, why wouldn't you want a board attorney? I mean, you've seen how complicated stuff gets into, and we will turn around and look and say,
did Scott County have a board attorney at every meeting? No.
is Scott
Does
County as
Grant
complicated?
Scott County is twice our size.
I know, but are they as complicated as, because how many times do we look at our board attorney, no matter who it's been, well, were you here when Elkins was here? No. And say, could you give us legal, because I know, we've used them a lot. I mean, and that's, poor little Buzzy would be down there watching his little UK game, and we'd have to interrupt him to get an answer. And I mean, he was great.
He was great, but he really did not interject. I mean,
No, he
Buzzy
didn't.
was only there if you needed him.
But he was at every meeting, and
He was at every
yeah, I mean, and that's my question is why, if somebody's willing to give you that service, include that in their price, why wouldn't you want that? Like, I don't understand, from any attorney.
Right.
Well, I don't think you ever want to do something because that's the way you've always done it.
It's not because that's the way I'm always doing it, I'm just always saying err on the side of caution, so if you can have that, why wouldn't you take that? And that doesn't, I don't
Well, if it
care.
cost you more, then that would be one reason why you wouldn't.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, yeah,
because really the attorney is there for policy.
and to protect the board. I mean, that's their job, is to.
So if you're not talking about policy, then why would you require them to be here at every meeting? I'm just looking at ways, that other districts do business, and they seem not to have issues.
I mean, I don't know, I would have to go back and look at some of your all's previous board meetings and stuff like that.
You're all says then,
Georgetown,
oh, Scott
Scott County, yeah. And see how you all, you know, I don't know what all, how your stuff goes on your agenda, you know, you and I are going back and forth, we're still learning here. But as I, you know, everyone's out of caution, I just like to have an attorney at the meeting. I mean, I can't tell you why, I can't give you a reason why, or not just because we always have, or da-da-da-da-da. To me, it's just safe practice. I mean,
I think for us as a board, my opinion personally, and this is what I would be comfortable with, is maybe that you are more comfortable with that, and we can all maybe kind of get on an agreement, and it looks like the other firm, I get what you're saying about the quote came in late, and I totally understand that. I mean, that's real life. You're late to the game, it's over. I think we have two viable candidates. I think one submitted a flat rate bid. I think one submitted a piece bid, essentially. And I think if we interviewed them and kind of told them maybe a more specific of what we wanted, and maybe to come prepared or email us before, and so we would be prepared for our interview with them, that we maybe could compare apples to apples and make sure that, you know, we're getting what pleases everybody, because we have two very different bids right now.
right, I agree. So are we saying drop the third?
I'm just, was kind of like, not to say indulging Bill, but get where he's coming from. His price was kind of late to the game. There was a lot of holes maybe in that bid, and no,
Well, I mean,
monetary amount.
that was the way we were with superintendent searches, anything else.
No, I
If you didn't
agree.
fill out your application all the way, and you didn't give us what we asked for, you're out. It was just skipped over.
And it should be, really I would think no different here.
I agree with that. I agree with what you all are saying, both you and Bill on that. So I think that one's out from what I'm gathering, but that's, you all gotta say whether that one's out. I'm fine with that, if you're fine with that.
Well, I think the only way that I'd be comfortable, and if we're not in a hurry, I'd rather table this until after all the investigations are over. And the Attorney General rules, just what my initial request was at the beginning of the meeting.
And that
So if
could
we're
be
not in a hurry.
forever. So I would not vote, I would not support you in that.
Well,
Because
and based
I
upon-
think it's a board that needs to feel comfortable.
Mhm.
And when you've had an attorney that doesn't support one of its board members, I think that's an issue. So I would like to make a motion that we go ahead and start the interviews.
Motion by.
Well, before, okay, you got a motion, so you got to do a second, but there's still a discussion point.
Well,
We have to have a second first before we can
I know, I gotta
discuss.
clarify. Are you doing all three interviews, what are you doing?
I say, let's do all three interviews.
You wanna do three of them interviews, okay? So, motion by Ms. Richardson to interview all three candidates.
I'll second.
Okay, second by Ms. Considine. So motion by Richardson, second by, who's it? Oh, Brenda. I'm gonna give that to you, Megan. All right, all those in
Wait a minute,
favor?
there's a
Oh,
discussion.
yeah, sorry, okay. Discussion, sorry.
So, obviously, the motion is valid because you had a first and second, but I think it's self-serving. You recall the phone conversation, Ms. Richardson, that you called me?
Where I asked you if you would support putting his contract on the agenda,
For the reason you gave me?
and you declined.
I did.
And you said you could support it because of comments he made about Dr. McComas.
No, there was
Yeah.
no comment. I said I couldn't support it unless you gave me a viable case that had to do with the district, just like I stated in the last meeting.
Well, Bill, this is not where we need to have this discussion,
Yes,
but
it
that's
is,
not.
because it's underlying our whole board, and it has for months.
Well-
And with everything that came to light last week, It's pretty, in the news and the articles and
But
everything,
that was
it's
not
pretty evident of
factual
what this
information.
motion is about.
Bill,
So if you all
that's
want
not
to pass
factual.
it, pass it.
It's not factual. They did not represent the facts.
We'll let the Attorney General determine that.
And that's what we're waiting for.
But to-
Absolutely.
but
But
to
that's
do
not
that
for Bill
because-
Cosby to judge.
No, it's not. It's
Yes,
for the
you
Attorney
are
General.
sitting here in judgment.
I will,
You are sitting here in judgment
if I
of me.
can interject just as kind of a neutral third party, I have consulted, not, my husband's an attorney, but not him. My friend does school board law, and Sherry is, you know, she gets due process just like any other
She is a
taxpaying
board member that can vote.
American
Yeah, and I'm not
citizen. She
saying
is a
she can't.
board
She's
member,
very
and
unethical.
she has right to vote, and her vote counts according to, you know,
Mhm.
statute.
Yep.
So, you know.
But that's not the comment you made at the beginning of the meeting.
No,
You
I asked you
wanted
to
me
recuse
to
yourself.
excuse myself, so as to not have a
So there
vote.
won't be any ethical questions on what happened.
And my personal attorney has assured me, Bill, that I am fine here because there has not been a ruling. And that's exactly what I asked Lee Searcy from Channel 18, is if she would wait to air this until the Attorney General has made the ruling. And it's unfortunate that what they that they put out there is not factual, that it's been something that's been handed to them and no investigation has been done. And here I sit on trial and you are leading the trial. And I'm asking you to back off and don't judge me. Let the Attorney General do its job. My personal attorney has told me that I am in good standing until a ruling has been made. I can vote, I can participate, and my voice stands until they decide. And so
I'm not questioning your vote. I'm not questioning anything of your vote. And Attorney General will determine what measures, if any, right? It's just from, if you haven't come out and given the real reason why.
you haven't asked me.
I did last meeting.
You did not
I
ask
did in the
me.
last meeting, asked you why the motion was, and you just said, because, or, we can go back and look at the tape. I mean, seriously, there wasn't any.
Bill,
No,
this board
she
has had
provided
no
some.
discussion about me at all.
No, I didn't say you.
At all.
I said about the motion. Why were we having the motion? And there was no comment. That's all I'm asking. So,
Okay.
I've said enough.
There is a motion on the floor with a second. You have anything, you have anything else to say, Shelley? With that being said, the motion is to interview all three candidates. So, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
No, only because of what I said earlier. It's nothing personal to anybody. That being said, is there a motion to adjourn?
Can I ask a question?
Oh, gosh, what do you need?
When do you want to hold?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question.
It would have to be a special call meeting.
For interviews, yes,
Oh, that'd be open or closed session?
closed.
Is it required to be closed?
It's,
No, remember last time they
it's
kept
not.
coming and sitting in here? It's open.
no, it's open session.
So it'll be an open session?
Yeah, they're open session.
The interviews are open session?
Yeah,
Good.
yeah, they can come in and sit behind. We asked them not to, out of common decency,
Right.
but a few did.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it was a bit awkward.
Could you reach out to them and ask them if they could meet with us one day this week?
Oh, wait a minute, not this week. Hang on,
We went in a third.
I've
I
got
can't make this week, so.
well, I mean, I've got like 3 doctor's appointments this week.
I think that if, the bid that you were speaking about in the beginning, if you have questions, maybe you should ask them to bring their ethics opinion or that says that it's not a conflict, or email that to us prior to their interview, prior to the session.
Well, I think we
All
need to
the
reach out to
documents.
OEA as well, or somebody, and get their opinion on top of it as well, just to protect
Yeah,
us.
I
I
think
think we've got to know.
Wouldn't it be KSBA?
KSBA. I don't care, all of it, we'll talk to them all, we'll call them all. Okay. All right. I can't this week, I have no day. I can do next week, maybe. Oh, next week we got a special meeting on Monday.
We're doing a working budget
Mhm.
Monday night, the 27th.
Could we do it at following, just tag it on,
What'd you say?
tag it along
Oh,
to that meeting?
I thought you asked if we could do it at Halloween. No, Brenda, I won't come in here and go trick or treating.
I mean, if we're already coming.
If that's what y'all wanna do, any idea how long it'll take?
For the working budget.
Mhm.
We just had that and one, Mr. Stump, next week. What was the new thing that came in today that we talked about to put on for the Monday meeting?
We have a change order on vacant roof for the closeout documents, but it's not a real big deal.
And, what is that?
For the ladies with the tennis court? That's
Yeah,
just
but
public
the
comment.
other thing you moved. This one.
That's just a recognition.
Yeah, you're gonna do that though, right? Okay. So, hour,
Tops.
okay. Will that work since we're already gonna be here?
Absolutely.
We're gonna do it after the meeting?
No, it would be part of the meeting.
Huh?
It would be part of the meeting, but it would just probably not be at the beginning of the meeting.
Maybe at the end.
Okay, yeah, we're gonna start the meeting at 6:30, right?
Yes.
Next week, okay, that's what I meant to ask.
I think there seems to be a lot of, that would probably be good. There seems to be a lot of like changes and stuff that, we would, I think, request out of, the opinion and maybe a little more specific
Give them a
blanket
week.
bid, and that gives them a week, plenty of time.
Yeah, because, Molly and I play, Dr. McComas and I play phone tag of trying to get back and forth, and I'm rolling somebody's hair and she's calling, and, yeah. So, I need a motion to adjourn, if we've got that worked
I'll
out.
make the motion to adjourn.
Motion by Hendrick, second by Richardson. Richardson. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, motion carries 5-0.